And I'd like to introduce our presenters. Janice Wollins is the Marketing and Communications Program Manager for OCIO Communications and Technology, or Communications and Training, sorry. Jason Hedrick is the 4-H educator in Putnam County. He's an associate professor and the area leader for Area 7, and he's our Extension Workday ambassador. So we welcome and thank both of you for being here. And Jason, I believe you will start.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here and glad you're able to join us for our session today. That'll be or is relevant here as we kind of move towards our Workday transition in January. I appreciate all of our Workday experts joining us here today. I am the ambassador for OSU Extension with Workday, and that title brings along the responsibility of communicating and kind of letting folks know where the resources are to get us prepared for Workday. By no means am I the expert. That's where Janice will come in today and do the brunt of the detailed work. So as we get started, I wanted to share just a few things, and I'll put links in the chat box to get us started. That will be helpful for us as Janice begins to navigate us through some Workday processes. Before we really get into the weeds, I want to encourage everyone to visit the Workday pop-ups. I sent an email about those a month or so ago, but the Workday pop-ups is a box file that contains a lot of demonstrations and resources for Workday-related tasks. There are tons of videos, PowerPoint presentations, and how-tos that are really helpful. It's a great time to view these as we enter the training phase before our January rollout. I would also ask that you continue to monitor your Buckeye Learn on a regular basis, as a lot of those required trainings will be posted there for you. They're assigned on a rolling basis based on what we do in PeopleSoft. And although I do recognize that some of you may not have any in there yet, while some of your colleagues do, they'll your way. Remember, you can do a quick review of your Buckeye Learns and those assignments using OSU Compass, which is the same tool we use for our health checks if we're rolling in and out of the office. So I will put the link to the Workday pop-ups in the chat box. The other thing I will link you to as we go along, which you may find helpful, is what we're calling the Workday Lab Tenant. I'll put a link in the chat box that will bring you to that lab tenant. And what that brings up is essentially a mock of Workday. And that's what Janice will be using today in her presentation. And you can kind of follow along using that Workday Lab tenant. So I'll get those in the chat box here shortly. And with that, Janice, I'll turn that over to you to kind of jump into the meat of our presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. I really appreciate it. Let me go ahead, and you gotta have a PowerPoint for anything. So there's a PowerPoint. We'll make the slides available. Just want to get you ready for Workday. It is coming, and it's coming fairly quickly. The key dates are January 3rd. That's actually a Sunday, is when Human Resources and Payroll will go live. And then January 7th, later that same week, a Thursday, don't like to start anything on a Monday, is when Finance and Supply Chain will go live. So there'll be a lot of things happening between now and then, a lot of key dates. We'll try to take a look at that on the Workday calendar towards the end of the presentation. But those are those big dates when these will go live. And I know everybody's been focusing on a lot that isn't Workday. COVID, everything that's happening, not just at work, but in our lives. So quickly, just to touch upon why we're going with Workday, or the advantages really. And the big ones are the automatic updates.
Janice?
Yeah. Yeah?
Janice, I'm not seeing your slides.
Oh my gosh. That's because I didn't share them. That's what'll happen. Okay. Oh my goodness. Share screen. Oh my goodness. It's so much more exciting now, isn't it? Oh, wait, not yet, maybe? Is it? Now it's exciting? All right.
Very.
Yes.
Very.
Yeah. It was just all blah until you got to see the, sorry about that, guys. I was so excited to get started. Oh, it's much more real now, isn't it? That you see the actual calendar flip chart. Um, thank you. If I forget to switch again, please do let me know. Okay. Um, big benefits of Workday are the automatic updates twice a year. What that means for someone like me who's been working these big projects for the past 20 years is that hopefully there won't be huge technology driven projects, right? There'll be incremental change as we go. The same way that I bank with Chase. Um, incrementally, you see their interface change. It's not one big thing that happens. It happens a little bit at a time. So I'm hopeful that we will not have to have, at least not while I'm here, another huge technology shift in the finance and HR world. It's not to say we won't replace Workday one day, but that incremental change will help kind of, well, to use current language, flatten the curve on the technology change. And then the mobile friendly, huge, I think, for a lot of us. Right now, I call it an act of desperation. If you try to use Workday, PeopleSoft on your smartphone, it's insane. Don't try it. Um, but in the future, Workday has an actual app, and it is responsive even in a browser, a mobile browser, so that you can actually use it effectively from a smart device. That's really exciting. There's some other great stuff too. I've been pretty heavily involved in the reporting side of all of this, and some great reporting benefits coming. It's going to take longer to see those benefits as we really get used to Workday and what it does and how to use it. So there won't be that same immediate excitement for reporting that you will get from, oh, this looks like it actually happened in the past decade in terms of the user interface, but the reporting benefits are going to be huge too. So just a reminder, today, when we try to do, boy, just about anything, we're working in a lot of different systems. E-request, managers use HRA, e-leave, PeopleSoft, and e-travel. In the future, all of those functions are coming into Workday. So we'll be really centralizing in technology-wise where we're doing our work. And I know most of you provide support for your colleagues. There was a great one. What do you bring? Is that you want to help people win the day? Well, we're going to talk about how you can support travelers, the buying you need to do. And then if you are managers or if you support managers, some of that information as well. More about the traveling and the buying, honestly. Starting with traveling, and there's some new language coming. And if you haven't heard it, just roll with it. A travel request in Workday is called a spend authorization. Now you might still talk about it in when you're talking to people, oh, I have to put in a travel request, but just know that in Workday, what you'll be looking for is a spend authorization. You're looking for authorization to spend some money to travel. And then a reimbursement request is an expense report. So that actually feels pretty common, right? You need to put an expense report to be reimbursed for something. So there's some language changes. If you support travelers, meaning you've done entry of travel request for someone else, Workday really is set up to allow self-service for the traveler, but you can still set up travel and handle the spend authorizations and the expense reports for a colleague, but there is a specific security role you need. It's called Expense Data Entry Specialist. So if that's something that you need to do, you're going to need that role. You may have it already. Might want to check and see what's going on there. Talk about the lab tenant where you can see what access you have. But it will allow you to do those spend authorization and expense reports and actually expensing charges from P cards to the appropriate accounting information. We'll talk a little bit more about work tags. There is a course related to this. And this is for people who are putting travel requests in for themselves or for others. It's called Spend Authorizations and Expense Reports, and it's an e-learning in Buckeye Learn. It's about 40 minutes. I'm not sure that it's actually expected for anyone, but it's recommended for anyone who needs to do these things. So you can go out, find it, take it, and learn more. I'll do a demo, but you'll learn more through that course. Buying in Workday is really similar to buying today, with the exception that everything happens in Workday from, so it's replacing eRequest. It's called Buckeye Buy. You go in through Workday. There's that same function where they call it punching out to a supplier site. So it's that same function that you see now. You can still make purchases for non-contracted items. Still a way to do that. It's similar to the way you did it in eRequest. No specific security role needed for buying. Anyone can do it. So just because you're an employee at the university, you can buy things. And there's a course for that as well, also in Buckeye Learn. And you can go ahead and find it another about 40 minutes and you can take that class. Although again, I'll do a demo. Managing in Workday, a shift there. If you do manage people or you support managers, Workday really relies on initiation and self-service happening by employees, by us, and managers. So just about any HR action is actually going to be initiated by either the employee or the manager. So managers are initiating job requisitions. So if you want to post a position, changing in funding for an employee, compensation. Obviously, they can approve time off and time, but they can also do an entry of time for an employee and correct time. So a lot of those things, even work location changes, those are all things that managers will initiate. And then, of course, approving time and time off. If you are a manager or you have a manager probably, there is training that is expected for every campus manager to complete. It is about 4 hours. Hang in there. So it's a bit more of a time investment for sure, but it's broken down into 10 modules, each that are like from 10 to 30 minutes. So I actually manage people, so I need to stop just talking about it and do it myself. But if you break it down and like do a module a week, I think you'll probably still be okay before January 3rd. So if you really break it down, hopefully that'll work out for you. Okay, that really the meat of it now, the demonstrations. Let's see. Okay, ooh, just in time, about to expire. Yes, I remember getting a lot of questions a year ago because I was there when you guys actually had a conference and everyone actually saw each other. Timeout is an issue for anyone. I will say the timeout is the same for Workday as it is for PeopleSoft. It's a 20-minute timeout. That is more a university rule than anything, and it's security related and privacy related. So that 20-minute timeout is going to be there. On the plus side, and we'll see this, Workday is a lot more forgiving in terms of allowing you to save when you have errors in a transaction. If you haven't completed it, you can save it for later with a lot less going on than PeopleSoft would let you, where if you couldn't get through all those errors, you wouldn't be able to save. So you do have some benefit there where you can save and come back to it. And I have a lot of them that I've saved and we'll take a look at. Another thing, I'd already logged in, so you didn't have to see it, but Buckeye Pass, the Duo, have your smart device with you, and that's not going anywhere. In fact, you've probably noticed it's going more and more places. So there it is. It's here as well. If you haven't already, there is a way to make it remember your device for a day, so at least you don't have to keep hitting that again. If that's an option you need, it's something to look into if that's something you have to keep doing. All right, so here we are in Workday. The header is across the top here. This is the home button. Search, a lot of navigation happens with searching. I'll show you some of that. Also at the top is this quick access area. This is brand new, part of incremental change, just came into Workday in September, and I think it's awesome. It has shortcuts that you can, if you click edit, you can create your own shortcuts, up to 10 of them. So once you figure out where you're spending most of your time, create your shortcuts. That kind of personalization, I would wait and see how you use the system for the first month or so and then start to figure that out. But you can always set them up and change them later. One of the things that I know, because remember, Workday is not just going to affect the work we do, but ourselves as employees. One thing that it's the number one reason actually I go to employee self-service. And sadly, it's not about seeing my payslip. It's about checking on my FSA, my flexible spending count, and HRA balance. It's like the one link I use all the time. That is also in Workday, but you can put it so it's in that shortcut and you don't have to remember, oh, I got to go to benefits and then click. So that is one thing I know I will do. I probably should have done it already. So that's the kind of thing you can do with quick access, as well as get to all your applications. One of the things I like about the quick access, I can tell I'm excited about it, even though it's new, is that it's in the header. So no matter where you are in the system, you will have access to these, as opposed to having to come back home and navigate again from there. So that's nice. The next one, the bell, are notifications, things that are good to know, not necessarily anything you need to take action on. In my case, I'll click it. Someone who reports to me changed her preferred name. It's probably a good thing for me to know that she doesn't want me to call her Tomato anymore. She wants to actually go by her name, Ebonique. I don't know why I said tomato. Who knows? So those are notifications. No action needed by you, but good things to know. The next one is the inbox. These are things that require your action. I'm clear right now, but if Ebonique had requested time off, I would see a request there to approve that. If I approve transactions of whatever kind, you will see anything that you need to take action on here in your inbox. Next is a profile. We'll look a little bit more into that. I will point out, sign out. Always a good idea to sign out when you're done using any system. And since I work at the OCIO, I have to say that. Contractual obligation. So be sure to sign out when you're done using the system. All right, so that's the header, basic navigation-y stuff. Search is a way to navigate. You can just search for my spend authorizations, my requisitions. You can use the applications here to navigate. I can't encourage you enough to get into the lab tenant. I know Jason will share the URL, and I'll make sure it's in the resources. It's in the slides too. I can't encourage you enough to go in and use it. I can navigate and do these things, not because I've been on the project for 5 years, because we haven't been talking about all of this for 5 years, but because I have to go in and I have to use it. So the best way to get comfortable and to be sure that you're ready to go in January is to actually go in and play around with it. I mentioned there's a lot of different ways to navigate. So I'm going to start with doing a requisition. So I could do create rec, and here's create requisition. That's one way that I can navigate to where I want to go. And here's the create requisition. I could also, I went back home again, request travel or purchase. This is a nice little kind of a dashboard of all the different things you might want to spend money on. Beginning with travel is here, a reimbursement is here, buying goods and services, and other one-time payments, all kinds of things in there that you might do to spend money. So this is another great way to navigate. You could also make it a shortcut if you wanted to, or here's that request or travel here as well. Lots of different ways to get places. Use it, see what works best for you, and then stick with that, or learn from your friends too of how they're using it. Again, I'm going to start a requisition. So request to procure goods or services. And here it is. First, and you'll see this on a lot of pages, that there is page level help available. If you click, if there's a question mark here and you click it, you will see question marks appear next to many fields. And when you click that, for example, requisition type, it'll give you a little more information about that field and how you might need to complete it. So you can toggle that on and off. So now they're not there, quick question mark, they're back again. Those you can toggle on and off. You can dismiss that message. I just never do because I demonstrate so much, but you don't have to see it every time you come in. Okay, some more basic Workday things. The red asterisk means that a field is required, so you need to go ahead and fill that in. I will say that some things that we require, the university requires, are not marked with a red asterisk. You will still get an error if you try to save without them. The good news is the error messages are pretty helpful. The most common place that there's something that isn't marked with an asterisk that we require is memos, business purpose, those kinds of things. The university wants an explanation of why you're spending money for anything, right? So that's going to keep happening. So if you see a memo thing there, chances are you're going to have to fill that in and give it a business purpose. If you forget, the system will remind you. So you can see that a lot of things have defaulted in. For me, I'm set up as the requester. Remember, no special access needed for this. And I can, if I'm doing this for someone else, like, I'm sorry, Jason, I'm going to spend your money again.
Only if you buy me cookies.
You know I will. Here's all the Hedricks, and here's Jason. A note about searching. I think in PeopleSoft, we've really gotten used to, if you know the exact value you want, tabbing out of a field and it defaults. You'll discover this as you use it, even though I'm saying it, it might not make sense. Enter is what we'll use a lot of the time, or most of the time with Workday. So you saw I put in Hedrick. You can't see. I pressed enter, and it gave me all of the Hedricks that were options here at the university. The next required one is requisition type. Once you open it, this will make sense. You get blanket orders after the fact. There's not a lot of these. Some of these you will never use. I'm going to do, it's most often a Buckeye buy request or a non-catalog request. I'm going to go with a Buckeye buy request. Deliver to, ship to, same idea that we have today with ship to and location. Ship to is where it will be delivered by the supplier. Deliver to is any redelivery that needs to happen off of that after that. So they might be the same, might actually end up being the same place, but it's that same idea. The next bit here, from cost center down to additional work tags, this is all the financial information about this order. And the financial language we use at the university is changing, well, entirely. I mean, it's a completely new language. It's the same idea, right? Like a cost center is really close to your organization value or your apartment value. Some of these others here, like a balancing unit, is really more of an accounting thing. So they do default. A fund is very similar to the fund we have now. A grant is like an OSP grant, something that you apply for and get. Programs are things that cross cost centers that aren't time bound. So diversity inclusion is a good example. Money we spend on diversity inclusion across the university, maybe they want to be able to track that. So that would be there. A project is time bound, but not a grant. So that would be things like, oh, we're redecorating a conference room. So we're going to put a small project together to track that money. There are a lot of other financial work tags. That's the kind of thing that's going to be really specific to you, the same way your chart field is, where you just know, here's what I do. If I'm doing this particular thing, I have this variation. So a lot of that you're going to be getting from your fiscal support folks within the college or within extension. So look for more information to come on that. In the resources, I will include a link to some more information about the financial work tags if you're interested in learning more about them. Some of it does get a little accounting-y. So if you like accounting, you might see some interesting things there. That's all I need to put in here. I will click OK to carry on. You can see I still have the option. I could at this point go and do a request for non-catalog items or Buckeye Buy connect to the supplier website. I will do that. So here it is, Buckeye Buy, multi-supplier, in the same way that you would connect from eStores or some of those other, the way you're doing it now, you would click connect. And I'm actually leaving Workday and going to this site that kind of handles our catalogs. It will have internal suppliers as well. These will all be contract purchases. And you can see it's not complete yet. Oh, look, it kept my filter for Cheryl's. Just, it knows what I want. But if I deselect that, you can see it has everything here. I'll come back to searching, but I wanted to highlight this round trip. These are for those suppliers where we have we use their catalogs. They've set up our own Ohio State catalog. One of the ones that you'll use a lot that isn't in this environment because it's not the real world is Staples is a good example. That this is where you would go look at the Staples catalog that they have set up for Ohio State and grab the things you need. You might use some of these other ones too. The one I've used in the demonstration, like we're doing, is Aramark, because if you're going to have cookies, you might want some other things, coffee or something to go with it. And you can see that you can search here, or there's links where you can just look through what's available. I'm going to look at hot beverage other, because I was looking earlier and I'm fascinated by the idea of liquid hot chocolate. Just sounds awesome. So if you want to order that, you would go ahead and get one and add it to your cart. This is just like shopping anywhere. All right, once we have that in our cart, we want to check out. So we went from this GX Buckeye Buy out to Aramark and brought back here. Success items were added into our cart, the liquid hot chocolate. So we have one thing in our cart. There will also be things where we don't have the round trip, we don't have the whole catalog, but you can see that there are many other suppliers, ways to search. If you know that you want something from Cheryl's, start typing Cheryl and it'll find it for you. If you know that you want cookies, type cookies and search, and you will find cookies. So you can see that there's a lot of different options. You can filter in other ways too, what kind of product. They're not that exciting right now, honestly, because there's not that much in here. But you can see all of the options and different ways to search. This is another great thing to practice with. Even once you get into production, if you have time, once the full catalogs are there, take a look. Set aside some time to do that. I'm looking, because everybody knows the buttercream frosted ones are the best. At this right here, it's one case. If you want to know more information, because I don't know how big a case is, you can click this caret. You can see it's closed now. When you click it, it opens up more information. This is 100 cookies for $62.75. Seems like a good idea. Plus, Jason said that's what he wanted me to get. So I will add this to the cart as well. So I now have one cart with two things in it. I click the cart, can validate that this is what I want. I want the hot chocolate. I want the buttercream cookies. Let's see. Anything else? Looking around, see if you have anything. If you're done, you can go ahead and click submit to return items in cart to our purchasing application. So now we're going back to Workday with what was in our cart. If we'd gone to Staples and gotten some things there too, we'd bring all of that back. And here it is. Two items. We have the hot chocolate and we have the cookies. Now this is where I think you can really start to decide how you want to use Workday if you get some practice in. Click things that look interesting. I'm kind of not kidding. You cannot break the lab tenant, right? This is not the real world. Do what you want. But you can do things like change your view. So look at what I have here. I've got each line item here with edit with details. If I'm buying a lot of things, I might like this list better, right? So you can get a list that looks like this, or go back to what the default was. You can see across the top the total amount. If you're done here, here's a memo. It's not required here. It actually there's one at the header level we can fill out. But if you're doing an order and there's a different reason of why you're buying each of these, certainly put in a memo for each of them to make sure that the person who's approving it has all the information they need. So I can continue shopping if I want, or I can check out, and that's what I'll do. Here again, help available. If I want it, they start to pop up. The request date is defaulted in, but I can change it. The requisition type is there that I put in there. Memo to suppliers. So if you want to give them a message, so that would be the person who's fulfilling the order if you want them to see it. But here's the internal memo that I was talking about. It's at the header level. Special directions for workers within your company. What we really want to see here is the business purpose. So why am I buying cookies? You would put in, you know, the actual why you are buying cookies. I just didn't make that up. And then you get another shot. You can look again at what it is you have on here. You can see these are all the goods I had placed an order for. Let's see. If you look across, I don't like to scroll too fast. It makes me feel vaguely ill. You can see we added the accounting information on the header level, but you can change it on the row level if you need to, depending on what you're buying. And you could split it. If you're splitting those cookies, I'm going to buy half the cookies with Jason so that I can have half of the cookies. You can do those kinds of things too. You may have noticed it's kind of subtle, but I have 2 errors. And when I click it, it will tell me what those are. A business purpose is needed, put it in the internal memo field. The why that came up, that's been up since I came back here. I only just added it, so you'll see that one. And the second one, you know what? Let me go ahead and demonstrate the save for later. Right? I have a couple errors. Errors in words. Oh, watch! It won't let me do it what I said I was. Oh, yeah, that one. The unit of measure. It is going to get emotional about. Sorry. I should have left the internal memo blank because that one it wouldn't have got emotional about. Oop. Oh my goodness. Stay with me. There it is. I'm going to go with each. Yes. It was all going so well. There it is. So now I can save for later. If you think you might want to add something, so here it is, save for later. All right, so you can add to it. When the time comes that you want to actually submit it, I mean, this is kind of artificially done because I didn't actually go anywhere. You can get back to your requisitions. Let me show you a couple different ways. My requisitions will take you there, and you can put in some search criteria. And here you can see a list of your requisitions. You could also, this one that's in progress, your inbox. It's an interesting little thing, make a note, your archive of your inbox has really interesting information, including this integration that absence request that I put in, a requisition that I put in. So you can see this information here about what I just did. Although honestly, I'm not seeing that requisition. Did anyone notice that I didn't save it appropriately? On or after. Well, this is the one we did earlier. So let's go into that one. All right, that one's already in progress. All right. It worked on Thursday. I can't see the one I just saved. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I apologize. Live demonstration. I wonder if I just didn't save it. We'll come back around to that. If I can figure out what I did wrong, I will let you know. This is why you need to practice. But you can see that when you look at my requisitions and then search, These are the ones I have already put in. Oh, here's a draft one. Let's take a look at that one. You can see this one is not yet submitted, so I can still edit it. And this is how you would go back in and edit an existing requisition. And you're back with those same save for later, submit. In this case, I am going to go ahead and submit this. And now this requisition for cookies is submitted. If I wanted to see, up next is the cost center manager, their approval. I can see more details. These are details about the order. Process. When you see that process information, a good place to look at to try to get an idea of what's going on. You can see that I submitted it today, and the next step in the process is a review. They haven't done anything yet, awaiting action, and here are the specific people who need to approve this one. So if you're wondering where something is in the process, if you look at the process tab, you will be able to see what's coming up. So I could call Amy or Deanne or Michael and ask, hey, we need those cookies right away. So that's the buying. Again, in the lab, you can't mess anything up, so have at it. Let's see. Next, let's take a look at some spend authorizations. I'm going to use this expenses app that's right here on my homepage. If you don't have that by default, there is a way to add these applications to your page the same way you would add it to your phone. The little gear here will allow you to configure your applications. And so this is one that if it's not there by default, you can add. I like using this one as kind of a dashboard for anything travel or expense report related, because you have links to creating a spend authorization, so creating a travel request, editing existing ones, creating an expense report, editing existing ones. If you've done, if you have recent expense reports that you've done, you have links. You have direct links to my spend authorizations, so I can see the ones I've done. And that includes a link to creating a new one. If you needed to edit or change one, a subtle difference, edit is what comes up when it's still in draft and you haven't submitted it. Once it's in progress and looking for approval, you're submitting a change, but you still can, right? In this case, well, let's go ahead and start, and so you can see what a new one would look like. Create spend authorization. Another good thing about Workday is that there's room for information about what it is you're doing. So links to business policies, and you can look up the travel office or the travel website. You can see all those things. But here's how you start a travel request. Again, the company is is Ohio State. Don't worry about it. Start and end date. I'll go ahead and I'll look a little bit in the future. It's going to be from the 29th to the 30th, just one day. Your description, let's see, I'm going to call it a, let's call it an extension conference, right? Business purpose, there's only certain valid values here, right? So you can see some of those here. Conference is a common one. Blanket travel. If you do a blanket travel for the year of mileage for someone who's doing a lot of driving around the county, it's an option for the business purpose. In this case, you can check them all out when you're playing around. It is a conference. Direct deposit is how reimbursements are going to come. That's something that you can set up for yourself as a person. You could also change it, but direct deposit as usual. And then again, justification, again, not marked as required, but is important conference. And an exclamation point to make sure they know you're serious, that it's important. You would do what you would usually do when you're putting in a travel request of why you need to do it. So that's the header information for this travel request or spend authorization. When you start adding lines, you click add, and here it comes. It's a lot of detail that it appears here. A lot of it defaults in. Again, the fiscal information defaults in based on who I am. Here are the work tags. You might need to update that, but then again, that's going to be really specific to your situation. What we really want to focus on is this expense item. What are we spending money on? So you can do it by group. Is it travel, non-travel, spend category? Here's another one you can do. Alphabetical order might be nice. I'm just going to do where I start typing. I'm going to put in lodging. And you can see it come right up. That lodging does come up. If you put in, let's see, Janice, I shouldn't go off. Hotel also brought up lodging, so it's smart enough to know those things. So lodging, quantity of 1, amount per unit, let's go with 125. You can see that this instructional text and item details, this actually changes based on what your expense item is. Because it's lodging, I have a hotel. If it'd been airfare, it would talk about things related to airfare. So these are all dependent on what your expense item is. Here, I'm going to say it's a Hampton Inn, and I'm going to arrive, what did I say? Thursday, and leave on Friday. And then what city am I going to? I know it's not exciting, but let's go to Cleveland. This actually destination is where you might want to pay particular attention to hitting enter versus tab. There is only one Cleveland in here, but it came up when someone was talking about Dallas. And if you put in Dallas and tab, it didn't do anything, right? Let me get rid of Cleveland to make that clear. So if I put in Dallas and tab out, it's nothing found, right? That's no good. But if you put in Dallas and hit enter, you can see that there was nothing found because there's actually 2 options for Dallas. I know Dallas, Iowa is quite a hot spot. But if what you wanted was Dallas, Texas, you need to select it. So that's if you're putting in values and you're like, why isn't this coming up? Dallas should definitely be in here. Make sure that you're hitting enter to execute a search and not tab. Okay. So that's all I need for the lodging. Maybe that's all I'm going to do. Somebody else is going to drive. So this is all I need to be concerned about. If there is an attachment, if I have some kind of a quote, I can drop it here. So you can select files and attach them. Would be perfect for a conference, right? If you're trying to get a conference prepaid for and all those things, you might want to you might need to put it in agenda and all those other things. All right. So I am to save this for later. And I have a spend authorization number here, so I can find that again later. Let's go ahead and go back, and I want to go back to the expenses page. So edit spend authorizations, I have 2 options. Extension conference, that's the one I just did. Here's another one I had in here previously. It edits automatically to the ones that I have created. So you can go back and look at them that way. Let's see, what else did I want to show you? Oh, my spend authorizations. Here we go. So now we have 3, the one I just did and the one that's in progress. If I needed to change it, I just wanted to show you a spend authorization that has multiple rows. Here's one, again, I have a lot of conferences, but here's one where there was a registration and you can see what instructional text is here. And I can request that they prepay it if it's a conference where you have to pay ahead of time. So you can see that. And then associated lodging is here with the different instructional tests. Per diem, how many days you're going to be gone, where are you going, and it calculates the per diem for you based on that. So you can see the all the different things you can do here and that you can keep adding. If there is like a package deal where you're like, okay, it's $1,500, includes the conference and the lodging. Yes, you can set that up like that here, attach the whole thing. So you can, you don't have to get too crazy with the itemization on the front end. You will need to get really specific about the itemizing when you get to the expense report. So let's take a look at that. Now, navigation wise, I could click home and navigate back through the way I just did, but quick access is here in the header and my expenses link is right there. So instead of having to go home and click, I can use that quick access and go straight here. So that's why it's great having this in the header for you. So expense reports, you can create a new one. You can look at the ones that you already have in. Here are some ones I've done recently. There are 2 that are available for me to edit. Let's go ahead and look at a new one first. 3 different things you can do. First, expense report for employee Janice Woolens. I am not set up to do expense reports and spend authorizations for other people, so I only have the option of doing it for myself. If you are someone who has that ability to do it for others, you would be able to update who the expense report was for. So that's one way to tell, do I have the rights, do I have that security or not? I can't update this. If you can, you have that expense data entry specialist. I think that's right. EDES. Okay, so my new options, I can create just a brand new expense report. Maybe I went out and bought the cookies for Jason because I didn't have time to order them, and now I want to be reimbursed. I'm sorry, Jason, I'm accusing you of having a lot of cookies. So I can do that. I can copy an existing one, and I can take a look at my last 15 and copy an existing one. If I usually submit the same expense report again and again, or create it from a spend authorization. Now, unfortunately, I don't have an approved spend authorization, but if I did, they'd be here. So if you do have one of those blanket spend authorizations, you can just keep coming back in and creating it against that blanket spend authorization travel request and just keep expensing against it. Again, I'm going to create a new one because I don't have anything approved yet. And the memo would be, again, why cookies. You would have better information. The date. Now here's the purpose. Let's see. These are the same kind of things that are available in the spend authorization. So maybe this was a marketing event. And again, you can see here's the fiscal information, the finance work tags. That's all we need for the header. I'll click OK. And here are the expense lines. And there's nothing here. I need to go ahead and add an expense line. Drop files here. If I was really doing this, I would need to, well, let's see how this is going to go when I look. I would need to find, I hate looking through my personal files because there's always, here's sitting bare. Yeah, don't ask. There's always something in there that's kind of weird. Let's, oh, cookie receipt. See, if you want to attach a receipt, I can put in the cookie receipt. Here it is. From Cheryl's. And then you would have the expense item. Food for external attendees. Let's say it was a marketing event. The total amount was, I'll stick with 65. Nope, hold it. There it is. Memo, again, you might need to explain about why you did this. Attendees, destination, you can see the different things that are in here. Attendees, there's some interesting things on the attendees side. You know how if you're doing like a meeting and you're going to provide food, and you have to keep track of who's there. If you've had to do that before, I have. It's kind of nice that if it's like an internal event for your own people, these are all my colleagues, all my peers. So if I was doing an event with my peers, I could just select them and they would be added. And it even counts the number of people. And maybe this is in Columbus. Oh, we're getting close on time. Okay. So you can see all the different things I would need to fill in here. If you need to itemize a receipt, like you might need to do from a hotel where here's the lodging and then there's taxes, or a meal would be a good one too. Here's the meal, here's alcohol that we bought, here's the tip, here's the taxes. That itemizing you would do right here. All right, let's save this one for later. I'm not sure I got everything I needed to in it. Oh, look, I didn't. You can see that there's a, that little exclamation point means that I've missed something. There's an error. Values for business reason, merchant. Yes, important ones. But you can kind of see that little marker, and it did allow me to save it, even though there were errors, which is, I think, great, because you might not know everything when you go in, and you might not know you don't know everything until you stumble across it. And instead of losing that work, you can go ahead and save it. So on that front, for buying things, spend authorizations, expense reports, I encourage you to watch, to take the e-learning that's available in Buckeye Learn, and then just get out there and start using it. It's the only way you're gonna be feeling comfortable about it when we go live. I didn't have a lot of time to get to manager things and to employee things, but that's actually some of the easier, especially the employee side. Manager training will help you if you are a manager, if you support a manager. But on the employee side, the things that you might want to see are very clearly marked. Pay, I won't click it because this is my real life, right? Absence will allow you to request an absence, correct something, see your available balance, all kinds of things that you can get to really quickly. Paid time off policy, just in case you need to review that again, or unpaid leave policy. So you can see all of those things as an employee are really close, are really easy to get to. Benefits I mentioned, here it is, my FSA or HRA, the #1 clicked link in my world. And that actually is hooked up in this environment right now. But you can go ahead and see the things that you have out there as well. Okay. So I think that's all I have time for on that front. I want to get back to some of our other thoughts here. Here we go. Demonstrations. So things to get ready. Jason mentioned the Workday pop-ups already. Those are pretty informal demonstrations. You can watch somebody else go through buying something. They might have a different perspective that you like. The same with spend authorizations and expense reports. There's some basic navigation things in there. If you want to get through that again, it's good stuff. I mentioned the stuff that's in Buckeye Learn, do it. Take those. Jason mentioned Compass, always a good place to start. It's where I start these days to get into Buckeye Learn, just because it's easier for me to remember, honestly. Hands-on experience. Again, I've said it a few times, but please use the lab tenant. It's out there. It will be there at least until implementation. And just don't be afraid of using it and clicking things and seeing how you like to navigate around. There are things online. These links are active. When we send out the slides, you'll be able to click them so that it has some ideas on how to practice. A key point on the lab is that it is current as of June 12th. So if something has changed, if you were hired since June 12th, well, I don't know how many people have been hired since June 12th. There's not a lot of hiring happening. But if something has changed in your address or who your boss is, it's just going to look like it looked in PeopleSoft on June 12th. So don't be thrown by that. But use the lab tenant. Other resources. If you look at the enterprise project site, some great stuff there. I'll pop out and show you that. And the Administrative Resource Center, if you're used to using the assist pages now, if that means anything to you, in the future, there's a new Administrative Resource Center. And I can show you what that looks like too. I'll be honest, a lot of that is still evolving, still in progress of being populated, but it's going to be a great resource. Let's see. Oh, and then thank you. So let me show you. I need to get back to, there it is. The Enterprise Project site has a lot of good information. The thing that I look at almost every day, and then I panic a little, is the countdown. So if you want to watch those seconds drain away to January 3rd, you can see the countdown every day. The other good thing you can see here is about training. We are campus staff. So when I click that, here are really the basics that you might need. There is something called Workday Basics, which goes over again, the basic navigation. You can watch it as much as you want. The buying experience I talked about, the how to buy things. This is a direct link to it in Buckeye Learn. Same thing on the spend authorization and expense reports. Those are direct links to those courses in Buckeye Learn. So if you want to take those, you can. You can see the managers in here as well. The other thing that's on this web page that might be good is the Workday calendar. Now, this does get a little confusing and jammed up. So if you have questions, certainly reach out to Brandy and Nicole on the HR side, and to your fiscal staff on the, if it's a finance or supply chain thing. But you can see there's a lot of, it sounds scary, last days. These are not the end of days. These are just the last days to do things in PeopleSoft until Workday comes back up. There isn't until Workday comes up. So you can see some of these probably don't affect you at all, but some of them might. So you might ask for some support on that front. You can see as we get into December, beginning on the 12th, 12th is when HR will be down. So you can see on the 11th, there's a lot of last day information here for like an employee to go make a personal change themselves. And then the downtime begins. And then in January, you'll see it start up again. Workday HR and payroll go live is here on the 3rd. Finance and supply chain go live here on the 7th. But you can see all those different last days that are coming up, which again sounds terrible, but there it is. I know we're just about out of time. Do you want to go ahead and step in and stop me, Sandra? Because I was going to show the Administrative Resource Center too.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. There's that. There are a few questions, and we can get back to people and answer those afterwards. There aren't a ton though, Janice. The one that I do want to ask you though is, do you get notification in your OSU email that you have something in Workday, in your Workday inbox?
You sure do. That is the way it will work by default. There are ways to set it up to, if you find that I'm getting emails all the time, that might not be the case for you, but it will also go to your Outlook email. And you can decide, do I want to get one immediately? You can also ask it to send you one message a day to tell you what happened with your inbox. I know that I'm not in there enough, but so I'll get them immediately so I know to go do something. But yes, you will get those emails.
Okay. Did you want to take a couple extra, or should we just wait and answer those later? It's
yeah, unless there's something that came up a lot that you think I can answer, we can get it out there. Otherwise, I will follow up.
Yeah, some things. Brandy took a couple that were,
Okay,
you know, maybe
thanks,
just glitches in the lab tenant if things weren't coming up right.
And I think I had misspoke about the email notification. I know for some of our HR matters, it was shared with us that it would not be synced to our Outlook. So disregard that comment. I apologize. Confusing the world.
Okay.
Things in the inbox will come into your Outlook. Notifications, I believe as well. That's actually something that you can, let me just switch back into Workday. That is one of the things that you can personalize. Under my account, where is it? My preferences. Global preferences. Here's your notification ones, right? Emails. Do I want to hear about these aren't the fun ones. Business processes, approvals. When do I want to be notified? Other notifications I want to know immediately, delegation immediately, reassign tasks, to-dos immediately. So you can see that you can set that up. You can change that up too. Like I can switch it from daily back to immediately. And some of these you can actually turn off too. So that's how you would set that up. Does that, we've gone over again, sorry.
Yeah, nope, that's okay. We have a lot of good questions, but we will get back to those, just so everybody knows. We'll get back to the ones that were not answered during the session. So we thank everyone for attending, especially thank you to Janice, Jason, Dawn, Brandy, and Nicole. Good luck with your Workday training, and remember to join Jackie Wilkins' closing session at 1 o'clock. So hopefully we'll see you then.
Thanks again, everybody.
Thanks, Janice.